The clauses 16 and 18 provide for the appointment of the Chief Executive Officer, Corporation Secretary, and other staff of the board. This contains the financial provisions of the board, and Clause 25 provides for the preparation and submission of quarterly and annual financial and non-financial reports to the National Treasury, its performance, and the performance of the operator. Part 4, that is Clauses 27 to 52, contains the provisions of issuance of license and permits for gambling activities in the country, applications for license and permits, the license fees to be charged, applications for gambling permits, the permits fee, the submission of security for casinos, and online gambling and gambling capital. The clauses 45 and 46 provide for the gambling tax payable and gambling levy to facilitate research on the impact of gambling, establishments of treatment and rehabilitation programs for the addiction disorders that have been caused to the people. Part 5, that is clauses 53 to 60, provides for authorization of public lotteries for charitable purposes, the powers of authority in respect of public lotteries, authority of lotteries relating to horse racing, exemptions of certain types of lotteries conducted for charitable, sporting or other purposes, exemptions of license on lotteries for charitable, sporting or other specific purposes, and regulations of private lotteries. And Part 5, that is Clause 61 to 66 of the bill, provides for the issuance of permits for betting premises, issuance of bookmakers license, the total license and laying of totalizer, betting pools and betting odds, promoters a license in respect of betting schemes, an authority of bookmarking at the race meeting, and the control of the betting machines. At the Part 6, that's Clause 67 to 69, provides for the licensing of casinos. That's the prescription of the maximum number of casinos in the country, and the power of the authority to inspect casinos and to ensure for compliance by the presence of its officers in the said casinos. Part 7, and that is the clauses 70 to 83, provides for the licensing of online gambling. These are the conditions for grants of a license, the control of online gambling activities, conformity of online gambling systems to standards and conditions set by the authority, that is the online gambling transactions, payments of the prizes, and remittance of profits and winnings. Clause 74 provides for the minimum amount a person can bet online, the registration of players' accounts to be kept, and dealings to the players' money is restricted. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Dr. Moses Wetangula, has walked into the House, and I now hand over you to the plenary.
Mheshimiwa, tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu ambaye kwa hekima na wema wako umetoa nyadhifa za viongozi na mabunge kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu, tukusihi utazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao umeridhika kutuita ili tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za shughuli yetu. Tukuomba uteremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa, na utujalie na tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote tutakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako ziendelezwe, na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen.
Having not achieved the required quorum for the House to commence the sitting, today being the second sitting of the afternoon session, Wednesday, November 29, the sitting that was supposed to commence at 2:30. Go back to the Gambling Control Bill, the Bill number 70 of 2023. And on Clause 10 of the same bill, that provides for the authorization of amusement with prizes, amusement machines, prize competitions, media promotions with prizes and chain letters. On whether the Gambling Control Bill, that is the National Assembly Bill number 70 of 2023, by Kimani Ichung'wah, the leader of the majority party, the bill that is in its second reading. On whether the statement on delegation of legislative powers and limitation of fundamental rights and freedom. This bill does delegates legislative power to the Cabinet Secretary to make regulations. The bill, however, does not limit any fundamental rights or freedoms. On whether the statement of the bill is a money bill within the meaning of Article 114 of the Constitution, the enactment of this bill may occasion additional expenditure of public funds. The statement as to whether the bill concerns county governments. This bill is a bill concerning county governments within the meaning of Article 110 of the Constitution and the fourth schedule to the Constitution. Also, the bill on the statute law, the miscellaneous amendments bill, the National Assembly Bill number 67 of 2023. The bill by the leader of majority party that is in its second reading. On whether the objective of the bill, it is in keeping within the practice of making various amendments which do not merit the publication of several bills into one bill. The bill contains proposed amendments to the statutes. The quorum has been achieved, and I now hand over you to the plenary. My name is Angela Cheror.
Quorum now. All honorable members, now we have quorum to transact business. Clerk.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, take your seats. Mkunji, take your seat. Honorable members, I have a short communication to make on the appointment order on the appointment of members to the Mediation Committee on the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023. All members, you may recall that during the afternoon sitting of Thursday, 23rd November 2023, the House rejected all Senate amendments to the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023. In line with the provisions of Standing Order 148, this essentially commits the bill to a mediation committee to be established in accordance with Article 113 of the Constitution. Honorable members, it is important to note that this is not the first time the Senate amendments to a bill originating in the National Assembly have suffered such a fate. Indeed, in all previous cases, the bills so affected have been referred to mediation as part of our bicameral legislative process. In this regard, I wish to inform the House that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 149, the Senate amendments to the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023, stand referred to a mediation committee. Further, in consultation with the leadership of the majority party and the minority party in the House, I hereby appoint the following members to represent the National Assembly in the mediation committee. Honorable Ndindi Nyoro MP, co-chair. Honorable G.K. Kariuki MP. Honorable Mary Emase MP. The Honorable Kipchumba Toroitich MP. The Honorable Anton Olwoch MP. The Honorable Joshua Kimilu MP. And the Honorable Catherine Omanyo MP. Honorable members, given that the National Assembly is scheduled to proceed on its long recess, I urge the members appointed the Mediation Committee to liaise with the Senate counterparts to ensure timely consideration of the contested clauses with a view to developing a version of the bill that may be agreeable to the Houses of Parliament within the timeline set out in Article 113 of the Constitution. For clarity, and in keeping with the practice, the 30-day period will start running upon the first meeting of the committee. The Mediation Committee is expected to confine itself to the contentious clauses of the bill only. The House is accordingly guided. Thank you. Next. Order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 29th November 2023, afternoon sitting. 1, legal notice number 158 of 2023 relating to the capital markets licensing requirements, General Amendment Regulations 2023, and the explanatory memorandum from the National Treasury and Economic Planning. 2, legal notice number 159 of 2023 relating to the Capital Markets Real Estate Investment Trust, Collective Investment Schemes Amendment Regulations 2023, and the explanatory memorandum from the National Treasury and Economic Planning. 3, legal notice number 160 of 2023 relating to the Capital Markets Online Forex Exchange Trading Amendment Regulations 2023, and the explanatory memorandum from the National Treasury and Economic Planning. 4, reports of the Auditor General and financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2021 and 30th June 2022, and the certificates therein in respect of A, Wahundura High School, B, Rigoma Girls Secondary School, C, Our Lady of Mercy Rangenyo Girls Secondary School, St. Paul's Nyandoche Ibere Girls Secondary School, Friends Boys High School Misiku, Devisi Girls High School, Maranda High School, Nyamira Girls High School. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay. And Honorable Speaker, just to remind members that tomorrow we have a sitting in the morning.
Pardon?
To remind members that tomorrow, Thursday, we have a sitting in the morning so that we begin business on time. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
It is already on your wall, on the parliamentary wall, which I expect every member to read. But for avoidance of any doubt, tomorrow there will be a sitting from 9:30 in the morning. Honorable members, the papers laid at A, Roman 1, 2, 3 are referred to the Committee on Delegated Legislation for further action. Next, we have Chairperson, Committee on Regional Integration, Wanjiku.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 29th November 2023. Report of the Committee on Regional Integration on its consideration of the inspection visit to the semi-autonomous institutions of the East African Community in the Republic of Uganda.
Thank you. Next, Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 29 November 2023. Report of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence, and Foreign Relations on its oversight visit to 1. The permanent mission to the Republic of Kenya to the United Nations Office at Nairobi Union and the Habitat. And 2, the Uhuru Gardens National Monument and the Museum Project in Nairobi. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairperson, Committee on Regional Development. Give him the mic. There you are, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 29 November 2023. Now, report of the Departmental Committee on Regional Development on its consideration of 1, the Regional Development Authorities Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2023, and 2, the National Disaster Risk Management Bill, National Assembly Bill number 24 of 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Chairperson, Committee on Regional Integration.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give a notice of the following motion that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Regional Integration on its consideration of the inspection visit to the semi-autonomous institutions of the East African Community in Uganda laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 29th November 2023.
Thank you. Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence, and Foreign Relations.
Notice of motion. I have 2 motions. A report on oversight visit to the United Nations Office at Nairobi Union, the United Nations Environmental Program, and UN Habitat. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence, and Foreign Relations on its oversight visit to the permanent missions of the Republic of Kenya to the United Nations Office in Nairobi Union, the United Nations Environmental Program, UNEP, and the UN Habitat, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 29 November 2023. I have 2.
Go ahead. You said you had 2.
Yes. Second motion, notice of motion. Report on oversight visit to the Uhuru Gardens National Monument and Museums Project in Nairobi. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion that this House adopts the report of the World Committee on Defense, Intelligence, and Foreign Relations on its consideration of an oversight visit to the Uhuru Gardens National Monument and Museums Project in Nairobi, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 29 November 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Manyata. Is it Manyata or Manyate?
Manyata, Honorable Speaker.
So, Clerk, you have misspelled the name of the constituent.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I seek to request the House for an adjournment of the House under Standing Order number 33 to discuss the 2023 KCP exam results. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 33, I rise to seek leave for adjournment of the House in order to discuss a definite matter of urgent national importance regarding reported irregularities in the 2023 KCP exam results. Honorable Speaker, the results for the 2023 KCP exams were released on Thursday, 23rd November 2023, with great pomp and color. However, this has been quickly dampened following the reported inconsistencies across the country. The discrepancies in the results range from awarding candidates wrong marks, assigning candidates marks for subjects they did not sit for, schools being assigned different grades. In other instances, candidates receiving higher grades for lower scores, and vice versa. Honorable Speaker, it is noted that a total of 1.4 million students sat for the 2023 KCPE exams with the hope of joining secondary schools. However, these discrepancies will not only delay secondary school placement of these candidates, but also compromise the integrity of NEC in delivering credible results moving forward. It is therefore imperative that this matter be addressed to safeguard the future of these candidates. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek leave of the adjournment of the House to discuss this matter of national concern with a view of exploring possible ways of resolving the reported and widely irregularities. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Do you have the requisite support numbers? Thank you, members. The support is overwhelming. We may take your seats. Honorable Mukunji, today we are sitting up to 9, so I will allocate your motion to be moved at 7:30 today. You move at 7:30. You are all obligated to be here until 9. So, thank you. Next.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Honorable members, I have 3 statements to be made. Ordinarily, we don't debate statements. Justice Kemei has asked me to give him an opportunity to make comments on the statement by Honorable Kemei. But we'll take all the 3 statements first, then I'll give you the requested opportunity. Honorable Kemei. Member for Kericho County.
I wish to request for a statement regarding the tragic drowning of 2 residents of Sigawet Soin constituency of Kericho County. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2 Part C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Regional Development regarding the tragic drowning of 2 residents of Koilsil, Tuyabe in Sigawet Soin on Tuesday, 21st November 2023. Honorable Speaker, the members of the public in Koilsil in Sigawet Soin are in distress following the drowning of Mr. Julius Tanui and Mr. Peter Terer at the convergence of Kipsonoi and Chemosit rivers. Despite dedicated rescue efforts by local divers, the bodies of the victims remain unrecovered, intensifying the anguish of their families and the community at large. Honorable Speaker, this unfortunate incident underscores a broader and persistent issue in the region, that is, the absence of a bridge connecting Sigawet Soin constituency, Pureti constituency, and Nyamira County over the Kipsonoi and Chemosit rivers. The lack of a bridge has not only resulted in the recent loss of lives, but has claimed over 20 lives in similar incidences over the years. The community has continued to suffer repeated tragedies due to the disastrous conditions around these rivers. Honorable Speaker, for the past 1 week, the families of the victims and the entire community have been in excruciating state of waiting for closure. The impact of this strategy is magnified as Mr. Terer and Mr. Tanui leave behind widows and 6 children each. The families are grappling with heart-wrenching uncertainty. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Regional Development on the following. 1. What immediate measures is the government taking to expedite the retrieval of the bodies of Mr. Peter Terer and Mr. Julius Tanui to provide closure to the grieving families? 2, what comprehensive measures are being put in place to address disaster risk in the area and enhance the safety of the community? Thirdly, what plans are in place to address compensation for the families of the victims? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Member for Likuyani, Honorable Innocent Mugabe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Tourism and Wildlife regarding the state of Kenya's beaches, which are one of the country's major tourism products. Honorable Speaker, beach tourism is the main socio-economic activity and source of livelihood for the coastal people. However, beach tourism has become a tired and less competitive product in today's marketplace. Honorable Speaker, in the last 2 decades, Kenyan beaches have been invaded by aggressive local informal operators who engage in a variety of tourism-related businesses, both regulated and unregulated, and harass visitors. This has a negative impact on the beach tourism industry in Kenya. Moreover, this has led to increased insecurity, poor waste management that threatens marine parks and beach ecology, lack of necessary infrastructure at the beaches, and increased conflict among beach users. Honorable Speaker, these issues have contributed to making Kenyan beaches unattractive and uncompetitive, resulting in significant economic losses to the counties that depend on beach tourism and to the national exchequer. Coastal and inland tourism sectors, which rely on the beach, face stiff competition from other more attractive beach destinations around the globe. Honorable Speaker, it is for this reason that I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Tourism and Wildlife to request the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife to inform the House on the following matters. 1, the plans that the ministry has put in place to protect, rehabilitate, and promote beach tourism in Kenya. 2, the sustainable management programs that the ministry has initiated to protect the environment and contribute to climate change mitigation and adaptation measures. And any specific policy and legislative proposals that the ministry has developed to guide beach management in Kenya. Honorable Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Tarbo, Honorable Janet Sitianei. Yes. Sorry.
Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations regarding killing and maiming of residents of Kamagut Kiblombe Ward in Tarbo constituency by Kenya Defense Forces officers on 26 November 2023. Honorable Speaker, the killings happened when the victims allegedly trespassed onto a KDF maize farm situated on the contested buffer zone that the KDF hived off from the land that it ought to have fully surrendered to the squatters from Kiblombe, Kamagut, and Buombe settlement schemes. The KDF dug a deep and 5-meter wide and fenced trench around the zone and has been using it for cultivation under the Kenya Ordinance Factories Corporation. Sadly, the trench has become a death trap for residents, and it claimed 4 lives of school children in 2021, 3 of them at once, and recently On 21st July 2023, an 8-year-old minor fell into the trench and died. Honorable Speaker, 4 persons were killed by KDF on 26th November 2023, and several others were maimed and are hospitalized. The attacks by KDF on residents have been happening over time. Honorable Speaker, on 25th December 2021, 2 people were shot and 5 others maimed by KDF officers for protesting erection of boundary beacons by KDF without involving residents or their leaders. The residents have also been hit by stray bullets from KDF shooting range, which has also caused loss of lives and pain and suffering to the people of Kiblombe. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations on the following. 1. What prompted the Kenya Defense Forces officers to use live ammunition on residents who are unarmed? What measures in the Ministry of Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations are they taking to ensure coexistence between the KDF and the residents? 3. What steps has the KDF in Eldoret instituted to address loss of lives, especially minors who have lost their lives in trenches around the barracks since 2021? 4. What disciplinary and legal actions have been taken against the KDF officers involved in the alleged killings and maiming of residents in various incidences? 5. What does the ministry intend to do to conclude the process of relinquishing the disputed portion of land to Kamagut, Kiblombe, and Buemba settlement schemes quarters, and compensate the residents for the loss of their loved ones and livestock lost over the trenches over the years? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, go on.
Honorable Speaker, I seek your indulgence to allow a few members that may have similar situations in the places where there is a conflict between the KDF and the community. And also, Honorable Speaker, I do take note that life is very precious. Life is very important, and we should take care of it. This is a paradox that there's very officers who are mandated to protect our nation and to protect the lives of people are actually the ones killing and maiming the community members. We have lost lives before on a Christmas day. We have lost lives recently last week, and it has brought a lot of distress within the community instead of a good coexistence between the community and the KDF officers. And furthermore, the community is supposed to act.
Janet, the rules require that you just read the statement as you have brought it. I've allowed you some latitude. You can end there. I give you 30 seconds to finish what you are saying. I've given you 30 seconds to finish what you are saying.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I was saying they had an opportunity to arrest whoever the community members, if there was a trespass, and prosecute them in court. They did not have to kill people because life is very sacred. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Justice Kemei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
2 minutes.
Yeah, just thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity you've given me to add my voice to the statement sought by Mrs. Beatrice Kemei, Honorable Beatrice Kemei, from Kericho County. Mr. Speaker, for over 7 days now, the people of Koil Sir, the people of Cheptuyet, and indeed the people of Sigawit have been living in anguish as they seek to find out where Julius and Peter are. They have used rudimentary technologies, Mr. Speaker. They have used local divers to try and find out where these two people are. As at yesterday, Mr. Speaker, representatives of the families went all the way to Odino in Rachuonyo, where there was a report of some recovery of some bodies, and it has been very, very difficult for them. Much as the issue has been directed to the Chair, Regional Integration, Mr. Speaker, we would have also wanted the Office of the President to say something. We raised the matter before the District Security Committees of Sigawet Soin constituency and Nyakach on Monday. And Mr. Speaker, we wish to get help from the government so that these people could, their bodies could be retrieved, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, and once more, thank you for the opportunity you've given me.
Yes, Honorable Pukose. 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I sympathize with the member for Tarbo for the incident that occurred in Kamagut. And Honorable Speaker, I'm also a farmer. And this issue about Murokoto is a very serious issue when we harvest our maize and the people are waiting outside there. I think we need, as much as we want to be sympathetic, would want to ask those people who want to pick whatever has remained from there to also be unorganized and allow the process of harvesting to be complete. Honorable Speaker, we'd also want to encourage our disciplined forces to have a good relationship with the neighboring community. In my area, Honorable Speaker, of Chemugengen, whenever mothers go and fetch even firewood from the forest, recently I got report that the young officers from the Kenya Forest Service are beating up mothers, beating up people who have gone to the forest. And I think this is something that must stop. The officers, disciplined forces, whether you are police, Kenya Forest Service, you must cultivate a good relationship with the neighboring community. You cannot beat mothers who have gone to pick firewood in Jemgengen Forest or Kimodon Forest or any other forest in Endebess, whether it is Swamp Forest, whether it's Kimodon, that should never happen. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to really sympathize with the Honorable Member and ask that the government should look for a way of how to act responsibly and also compensate those who are killed in Kamagut. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Member for Cases.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also weigh in on the statement sought by Honorable Janet Itiene, Member of Parliament, Tarbo. Mr. Speaker, I want to make a statement of witness on the fateful day when I got the news that people have been killed, have been brutally killed at the RTS area. I managed to went there myself to confirm and to witness as I went to convey my condolences to the people. Mr. Speaker, it is so painful to see and to witness what happened on that day, that the bodies were scattered like dogs, the way they were killed brutally with crude weapons, not like a case of an attack where the police was, the military army was defending themselves. But this was a deliberate, intentional attack on the people, killing them mainly like anybody would kill a stray dog. Mr. Speaker, this is a question that it requires a serious inquiry into it so that we're able to understand what is the situation under which military, our officers who have been given responsibility to protect the citizens from external atrocities have turned out to attack the internal people where they need to coexist together. There are serious allegations by women around there over assault and rape that most of the time on repeated occasions, the same officers has been raping them whenever they find them going for their hearts, and they take advantage on them, or even at night, because these are a situation where there are villages on the hand side of this particular parcel of land, and the communities have to visit themselves the other side over this side, and they have been doing all these inhuman activities on them. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to weigh in my voice as I condemn this act and ask the committee relevant to go in depth and understand, probably even include visiting that area and get the views of the people, so that we bring out a conclusion report that we are going to ensure we sort out these problems once and for role. The aspect of people using powers beyond to the citizens of the Republic of Kenya instead of protecting them is inhuman.
Thank you. Yes, member for Sigor, sorry.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. I feel for the member for Kericho, where 2 residents drowned, and now she seeks a statement from the Committee on Regional Development. We feel for that. And equally, Honorable Speaker, it's unfortunate that from the member for Tarbo, it's reported that citizens were killed by KDF. And on Monday, Honorable Speaker, it was reported, and I think it happened, that the same KDF killed 4 people in the border between Turkana and Pokot. People who were not bandits, so we lost people in the hands of KDF. So it is similar to what happened at RTS. And Honorable Speaker, it's unfortunate that whereas we think that the KDF personnel are well trained, they have now taken into the habit of taking shortcut, and instead of arresting people, they are now killing innocent Kenyans. So I want to say that I think an inquiry needs to be done, and we need to understand those who gave instructions to KDF to go to the places they are in, whether they were given instructions to go and kill or to go and restore peace and bring about order in those areas. As we talk about this, Honorable Speaker, it is our belief that either our forces are not well trained or either they are not even well equipped to be able to arrest those they suspect could be criminals or even bandits. And we want to say that I think an inquiry needs to be undertaken into the work and even the behavior and even the way KDF forces are conducting themselves, especially when they are dealing with citizens wherever they have been sent to undertake activities. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Umulher.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would want to sympathize with the Honorable Member on this particular issue, and I truly feel the impact that we are all having, because the KDF are in our communities and they have military bases across, and the same case is happening even in Boni Forest. As of 3 days ago, they killed a gentleman by the name Mr. Abdikadir Abdo, who was herding his cattle in Boni Forest. So it's quite unfortunate because even the justice system becomes a very long process, and we are still having cases of families who have not even been compensated. But the issue of compensation should not even come if the military and the KDF are able to conduct themselves in a manner that is respectable to the community while offering the services that we need from them. So this is a matter that is of concern, and I would really want to urge the government to intervene so that we could get answers on the same. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Lisa Chelule.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kunipatia hii nafasi pia kuchangia juu ya shida ambaye imefanyika kule Tarbo constituency. Nataka kuchukua nafasi ya kwanza mimi mwenyewe kutoa risala za rambirambi yangu mimi mwenyewe na ya Nakuru County, na niseme pole sana kwa Mheshimiwa Janet ambaye ni mjumbe wa Tarbo, na niseme pole sana kwa wananchi wa Kamagut kwa shida ambaye iliwapata. Bwana Spika, ni maajabu sana kusikia wale watu ama wale maofficers ambaye wanahitajika kulinda wananchi na kulinda mali yao, hawa ndio wanaua watu. Bwana Spika, hata kama watu walikuwa wameenda kuiba kama ni kuiba, lakini ninaamini kwamba mambo ya utamaduni wetu, baada ya mahindi kufunwa, kuna wale watoto ama watu ambaye wanafuata mahali mahindi zimefunwa na wanaokota zenye zimebaki. Hii ni mambo ya kiujamii na ni mambo ya kibibilia, hata ukifuata kwa Biblia. Bwana Spika, kama hawa watu wanasemekana walikuwa wameenda kufanya hivyo, sio makosa, na hata kama walikuwa wameenda kama ni kusema wameiba, si lazima mtu auliwe sababu ameiba. Mtu akipatikana mwizi anashikwa na kupelekwa polisi, apelekwe kotini. Kwa hivyo hii mambo ya mauaji ovyo, ninataka kuchukua imani kwamba serikali yetu itachukua nafasi ya kuadhibu na hata kuwafuta hawa kazi. Sababu huwezi kulinganisha maisha na mambo ya mahindi. Huwezi kulinganisha maisha na chochote. Na maisha inafaa kuchukuliwa na Mwenyezi Mungu peke yake, lakini sio binadamu. Kwa hivyo
we'll end here on this. Honorable members, given the gravity of the matter raised by the member for both Kericho and Tarbo, for the member for Kericho, I think you've misplaced the direction of your statement. What appear to be what you are describing is actually a matter for security. Because when bodies are lodged in some water bodies, the people who go to retrieve them are the police, not anybody else. So I'll direct your statement to go to the Committee on Internal Security, and the statement by Honorable Janet Stieney to go to Committee on Defense, and I direct that all the three statements, including the one for Likuyani, be brought to the floor of the House on Wednesday next week. On Wednesday next week, Majority Leader, ensure that the issue of the two people who drowned in Kericho, those who were allegedly shot by KDF in Tarbo, we get statements here on Wednesday, since you'll be recessing for 2 months on Thursday. Thank you. Member for Turkana Akuja. Is it Akuja Protas? What is your point of order, Kimtai? DK. Give him the mic. There's one next to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise on a point of order. I know 2 weeks ago, you were directed the chairman for finance when I raised on to give a statement on the sale of Uchumi IPA, that is the Langata Uchumi IPA. I note that today is Wednesday, and that statement should have come today. And I'm being told there are even other developments. The court has gone ahead to rule on the case, and chances are the government might be losing up to around 1.4 billion. So can you, maybe we hear from the chairman on what is happening to this very important matter, which, if not checked by complacency and by collusion between the Treasury and whoever wants to sell the plot.
DK, take your seat.
Okay.
The chairman of the committee was ready with your statement yesterday. You are not here at the time, and you appear now to be blaming the chairman and the House for not bringing your statement. That is not quite fair to the chair. In fact, you should have apologized to the House for not being here yesterday, at the time the statement was to be issued by the chair. I will direct that the chair of finance issues that statement. Is it finance or trade? Finance. He will issue that statement tomorrow morning. So you'll be here so that you don't blame anybody thereafter. Yes, honorable member. Are you on a point of order?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
What is out of order?
Point of order, Mr. Speaker, is that I raised the same issue that I'm raising again. I gave a statement on the two statements, one on the 18th of October to Social Protection Committee Chair, which you directed that I get a reply on 2 weeks. On the 8th of this month, again, I had another statement which was directed to the Chair of Security and Internal Affairs. As well, you also gave a directive that, or the Chair at that time gave direction that I should receive a reply within 2 weeks.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, I again stood on another point of order about a week ago on the same, and I was promised that it will be the replies will be delivered to the House Tuesday of this week. But to date, and as we go for recess, nothing looks like it's forthcoming. I've been to the offices of the clerk to find out whether we have a written statement. I need your direction, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Could you liaise with the majority leader to check on the chairman of those committees? Majority leader, if you can speak to the honorable member and direct the chairman to bring those statements tomorrow morning. Akuja. Give Honorable Akuja the mic. Take the one next.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Honorable Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 259D to pay tribute to the late Honorable Christopher Ebenyo Loonio, distinguished former member for Turkana East constituency, who passed away on Wednesday, 15th November 2023 at his residence home in Nakamane, Takwal location, Loima constituency. Honorable Speaker, the late Honorable Christopher Ebenyo Loonio was born in 1944 in Lodwar Town, Turkana County. He attended Lodwar Primary School from 1956 to 1959, where he sat for common entrance examination in grade 4. The late Honorable Loonio proceeded to Kapengura School in 1960 and completed grade 5 to 7 in 1962. In pursuit to his career, he joined Kenya Medical Training College in 1963, where he trained as a public health technician. Upon completion of his studies, the late Honorable Loonio was posted to Loktang Health Center, where he worked as a public health technician until he joined politics. Honorable Speaker, in 1974, Honorable Loonio filed for a parliamentary seat for Turkana East constituency, which he won and served diligently up to 1974, being the term of the third parliament. He was an astute legislator whose contribution to parliament, his committees, and the plenary were invaluable, and his colleagues held him in high esteem. Honorable Speaker, the late Honorable Loonio later left the political arena and transitioned to establishing and managing his business in Takwal Trading Center. In his death, we celebrate the life of a well-respected leader who laid the foundation in enhancing access to health care in Turkana. Honorable Speaker, on my own behalf and that of my constituents, I wish to extend my deepest condolences to his family and the people of Turkana for the loss of a remarkable leader. Finally, Honorable Speaker, with your indulgence, may I request that we all stand to observe a minute of silence in honor of our departed colleague.
That is not for you, it's for the Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
There is a member for West Mugirango who had another tribute to a fallen former colleague. Then we'll observe a minute silence protest together. Yes, Mogaka? Give Honorable Mogaka the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I also take this opportunity to pay tribute to the late Honorable Benson Kegorogero, who preceded me as Member of Parliament for West Mugirango in the 70s. Honorable Kegoro passed on last week in his sleep and is going to be laid to rest on Sunday at his home at Borabu constituency. I also want to condole with the family of the late Benson Kegorogero and the constituency. Honorable Kegoro, besides having been a member of the National Assembly, he also served as a member, as a councillor in the big county council of Nyamira, and he is a leader that has traversed several regimes, right from the regime of President Kenyatta, President Moi, President Kenyatta, President Kibaki, and passed on during the Kenya Kwanza regime. I want, on behalf of the people of West Mugirango, to celebrate the distinguished service that Honorable Benson Kegoro rendered to the people of West Mugirango and indeed the people of Kenya. And I will also plead with you, Honorable Speaker, that you invite the House to observe a minute of silence in honor of this great leader. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, in honor of the late Honorable Ebenyo of Turkana East and Honorable Kegoro of West Mugirango, can we observe a minute silence? May their souls rest in eternal peace. Thank you. Yes, Omongina. We are done with that. You want to speak about Kegoro? Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me also to mourn this hero from Nyamira County. Honorable Kegoro has served the terms of the 5 presidents. And during his time, he is a man who has lived to be emulated. We have learned a lot from him, and I know the family is this time in great pain because Kegoro was not sick. He suddenly died. I want to give my tribute as I give hope to the family that death is the last enemy that God will destroy when He will come to take us to where He lives. May the Lord take care of the family. May the Lord comfort all the people of Nyamira and the people of West Mugirango. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Next order. Not, yes, Chiforo Mondo.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand on standing order number 227. On Tuesday, 15th August 2023, Honorable Speaker, I presented a petition concerning land issue at Kidomaya Miongoni village, which is Parbat land. Pursuant to the standing order, the Committee on Petition was supposed to deal on the matter in 90 days, which elapsed on 15th November 2023. Mr. Speaker, as a member of parliament whom I presented the petition, I did not get any response, either I've not seen anything done over the same. I plead to your indulgence, Mr. Speaker, that you intervene and give direction over the matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Q, where is the chairman for Public Petitions Committee? Majority? Where is your chairman for Public Petitions? But today is not normal. He's not there.
Today is one of those bad days, but he's, since the last time the chairman public petitions has been very diligent, he's always here.
I see him there all the time. Yeah. Can you direct him that he brings
I will take responsibility
the
for that
response
on his
to
behalf.
Chiforomondo's petition before we recess?
I will relay the information to him or the vice chair.
And advise, this time-bound businesses, majority, advise the chairs that when we have time-bound business, if for any reason they are not concluded, and it's possible that they may not conclude within the time, they should communicate with the petitioners or the members who brought the petitions, so that they know that there's still some work going on. Next order. Yes, is that Bashir? Bashir, what is it?
Honorable Speaker, I'm fully aware that yesterday you gave an order banning countersuits. Some of us, have tailor-made and invested in countersuits to be attending sessions in this house. Now, what do you do with these costly countersuits for the purpose of attending sessions in this house? And some of us don't put on mitumbas. It is original. So I don't know whether you can allow for an appeal on the same, so that we can be putting on these expensive tailor-made suits. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Bashir, you are here only 3 days a week. You can use those suits out there. If you have no opportunity to use them, you can also donate them to your deprived neighbors, so that they can use them. Honorable, next order, sorry. Order number 8.
Order number 8, the National Lottery Bill, National Assembly Bill number 69 of 2023, second reading.
Honorable members, I've been advised that the matter at order number 8 was dispensed of already, so we'll skip it. And before we go to order number 9, allow me to give some direction on order number 10 in consideration of the conflict of interest bill. Honorable members, you will recall that during the afternoon sitting yesterday, Tuesday, 28th November 2023, I allowed the member for Ariedo, the Honorable Dr. Otienda Molo, Senior Counsel, EBS MP, to raise concerns on the contents of the Conflict of Interest Bill 2023. The concerns were also contained in his 2 letters to the Speaker dated 21st November 2023. In prosecuting the matter, honorable members, the honorable member queried the constitutionality of various provisions of the bill and highlighted particular concerns with a number of provisions. This included the definition of the term public officer and the singling out of members of parliament and members of county assemblies in the bill, the shift from self-regulation of public bodies to the supervision of all public officers by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, ESCC, and the obligation on public officers to include their spouses in their wealth declarations. Honourable members, during yesterday's sitting, I did also allow the leader of the majority party, as the sponsor of the bill, and other members to ventilate on the concerns raised by the Honourable Otienda Molo. In the ensuing debate, it was reported that the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, JLAC, was at an advanced stage of reconsidering the bill. The Vice Chairperson of the committee, the Honourable Mwengi Mutuse, did confirm that the committee was seized of the matter and the concerns and had taken them into account in its consideration of the bill. Consequently, I guided the House to await the tabling of an addendum to the report of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee on the bill. The report and the addendum would inform my ruling on the concerns raised by the Honorable Member for Arrieta. Honorable Members, I note that the chairperson of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee tabled an addendum to their report on the Conflict of Interest Bill 2023 during today's morning sitting. From a perusal of the addendum, it is clear that the committee has addressed itself to the concerns raised by the Honorable Dr. Tienda Molo and indicated its views on the said concerns. Additionally, arising partly from the concerns of the member, the committee has proposed amendments for consideration by the House. As a member of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, the Honorable Dr. Tienda Molo, MP, yesterday did confirm having participated in the deliberations of the committee during its reconsideration of the bill. I am therefore satisfied that the tabling of the addendum and the proposal of further amendments by the committee now sufficiently allows the House to consider the bill and the amendments at the committee of the whole House. As I conclude, honorable members, permit me to reiterate the significance of the Conflict of Interest Bill 2023. As aptly put by the leader of the majority party, the bill seeks to breathe life into the provisions of Chapter 6 of the Constitution on leadership and integrity, with a particular focus on conflict of interest. As the House is aware, the bill seeks to repeal and replace the Public Officer Ethics Act 2003, which has never been fully updated to accord with the Constitution. The importance of the ongoing deliberations on the form and content of the bill cannot be overstated. I thank the Honourable Member for Arrieta for raising pertinent issues and which can only assist the House to actualize a critical chapter of the Constitution. I'm satisfied that the bill may proceed for consideration at the Committee of the Whole. The House is accordingly guided. And allow me, honourable members, to thank the Arrieta member for a thorough reading, understanding, and appreciation of the bill, and the majority leader for equally rising to the occasion to meet the expectations bestowed on him. I now direct that when you go to committee stage, you proceed to consider all the amendments filed by whichever party so that the bill can move to the next level. I thank you. Next order.
Order number 9, the Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly Bill number 70 of 2023, second reading.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly Bill number 70 of 2023, be now read a second time. Honorable Speaker, this bill is related to the lotteries bill that was passed, that went through the second reading this morning, and it helps us to control or regulate the gambling industry. Honorable Speaker, I don't need to speak much on it because a lot has been said and members contributed on matters that even touch on this bill as a contributor to the bill on the lottery bill. Honorable Speaker, once more, let me take this opportunity to thank the members of the Sports Committee because, as I said yesterday, they took a lot of their time, and actually the entire weekend was spent by members of the Sports Committee holed up in Mlolongo to consider this bill. And I have been able to go through their report, Honorable Speaker, as very good recommendations. Of course, except with the exception of one or two recommendations in the committee's report that I do not agree with. For instance, Honorable Speaker, on clause 45, the committee proposes to delete the word 15 and substitute 13. And the import of this amendment, clause 45, was imposing a tax to be known as a gambling tax, which is chargeable on the gross gambling revenue. at a rate of 15%, and they propose to reduce it to 13%. There is absolutely no way I would agree to a reduction in tax on gambling. Gambling, like smoking, like the partaking of alcohol, these are considered as sin taxes. And sin taxes, you cannot reduce sin taxes under the pretext that you want to increase government revenue. In any case, that is why we are having a whole bill, a whole new legislation to be able to control this, I don't want to call it a menace, but this habit of gambling, Honorable Speaker. And I really want to persuade the members of the Sports Committee that they cannot be reducing taxation at a time when we are even looking at an opportunity with the bill that we just passed on the lottery bill to be able to tap into the resources that people are putting in gambling through a national lottery. We should be increasing that revenue, gross gambling revenue tax, not reducing it from 15 to 13. I would actually be proposing that we move that gross gambling revenue tax to a level of about 25%, so that we are able to collect more revenue. We are able to, through the lottery, national lottery, to be able to raise much more revenue to go to good causes. And the good causes, as we said, include the rehabilitation of people who are addicted to gambling. And I've said it before, Honorable Speaker, even in our own families, we know people who are addicted to gambling. And gambling is extremely addictive. It's actually more addictive than alcohol and smoking. Not that I have ever smoked, gambled, or I used to drink at some point, and I know how addictive it could be. I have never smoked, but I see how addictive smoking gets. I have said before, Honorable Speaker, I am a teetotaler, and I am a confessed addict of tea. And Honorable Speaker, I cannot leave my house before I take even a sip of tea, and it's Kenyan tea. Honorable Speaker, there are people who are pushing me to say Kericho tea. I said Kenyan tea. And now there's a new saying that there is no conversation is complete, and there is no subject that is so difficult that you cannot settle it over a good cup of Kenyan tea. Therefore, my addiction with tea is a good thing, Honorable Speaker. But I know what addictions do. You are dysfunctional when you have not taken what you usually take. But unlike tea, those who are addicted to gambling comes with a huge cost, not just to them as persons, but also to their families. People are spending money that's supposed to go and settle school fees for their children or for medication to gamble. Honorable Speaker, all these members will tell you that in their backyards, there are people who wake up in the morning, go to their local shopping centers to gamble. And that's all they do a whole day. They will be at the street corners and corners of their shopping centers waiting for their waheshimiwas, their MCAs, their members of parliament, whenever they are passing, to ask for handouts, not to go and do anything productive, to go and gamble with the hope that they will make it in life through gambling. Honorable Speaker, we must ensure that we discourage our young people from getting into rather unproductive economic activities like gambling, and encourage them to get into more productive, economically productive activities other than gambling, Honorable Speaker. And you don't do that by lowering tax. When you lower tax, you make it very easy for them to gamble. And I know the other argument, Honorable Speaker, and I have seen it in the presentations by the industry players, that once you raise the taxes here, people will go and start gambling outside the country online. Honorable Speaker, if governments around the world are able to stop people from using WhatsApp, how difficult is it for a government to stop people from gambling online? It is possible, Honorable Speaker, and you don't need to stop them. Tax them even when they gamble online. At the end of the day, there will be a way that you have to remit money, whether it's through PayPal, whether it's through M-Pesa, whichever means that you use to transmit that money to the company you are gambling with, whether it's a company in the UK, whether it's a company in the US, whether it's a company in South Africa, so long as you're able to remit money, government should be able to institute means and mechanisms through which the person who is remitting the money pays a tax, even at the point of remitting. And those are some of the new innovations, Honorable Speaker. I was hoping the Sports Committee would be innovative enough. But I do hope, Honorable Speaker, at the right time, because these tax matters, again, are better handled by the Finance Committee. And I hope even as we get to the next finance bill, we should get to a position where we'll be innovative. The Finance Committee and the National Treasury must begin thinking how is it that they can also be able to tap into those who are gambling online, so that they either pay as a gamble and they're able to get part of the money even for those who win. So that, Honorable Speaker, the defeatist argument that if we raise our taxes here, people will go and gamble online in companies outside Kenya, then we can be able to get money even from those that are outside Kenya. Honorable Speaker, I said I don't want to dwell too much on this bill because a lot is what we said yesterday on the lottery bill, but I really want to plead with members to help us pass this bill because it is dealing with a known national vice in Kenya now. Gambling, Honorable Speaker, and it's not just the young. I have seen around the country very elderly men and women who spend all their time gambling. And I said, Honorable Speaker, yesterday, our radio stations, especially our vernacular stations, have made it now the norm. For every 2 sentences on a vernacular radio station that you listen to, the third sentence is promoting gambling. Honorable Speaker, I do hope that the measures therein in this bill to even control the advertisements of gambling companies will come to fruition when we pass this bill, so that we don't encourage Kenyans to gamble by bombarding them on TV with advertisements on vernacular radio, and that's how we are roping in even the very elderly, because they are made to believe that the easiest way to make $500,000 shillings is to just text a number to some radio station, and those people are collecting billions. Honorable Speaker, I said yesterday, it is now reported that most of our mainstream media stations are making more money from gambling than from their core business of broadcast or even from advertisements for corporates, Honorable Speaker. We must protect our people from being taken advantage of. Unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, it is not you and me who gamble. Although I know in the last parliament, Honorable Speaker, we had one member, without naming names, who was an addict. And he would leave the chamber and run off to some casino somewhere. I have not seen that in this parliament, Honorable Speaker.
You knew one, I knew 3.
I didn't even say from where, Honorable Speaker. I hear somebody saying one from somewhere. You know 3. But unfortunately, it is 3.
I knew 3.
It is 3 in a population probably of 349 members of parliament and about 64 or 67 senators. So in a population of about 500 people, we can count 3 or 4. But if you go to the population outside there in our villages, Honorable Speaker, the most vulnerable people in our society are the ones who are being taken advantage of. It's actually immoral that we are taking money from the poorest of the poor. And because you make it look like you only need 10 shillings, 30 shillings, 50 shillings, it becomes customary that I will try my luck with my 10 shillings today, at lunchtime another 10 shillings, in the evening another 10 shillings, tomorrow I'll up the stakes to 30 shillings, the next day 50 shillings. And you know, they lure them by making them win with their 10 shillings bets. You win 100 shillings, then you spend the 100 shillings betting, hoping that you will now win 1,000 shillings. The day you win 1,000 shillings after spending 3,000 shillings, you win 5,000, you bet that, hoping that you will eventually be the one winning the $500,000 or $1 million shillings that is being promoted on TV. Honorable Speaker, I want to say I particularly support the provisions to also regulate the advertisements of gambling, betting, Honorable Speaker, so that we protect the most vulnerable, not just of our youth, of our elderly, but also of the very poor in our society who are being taken advantage of. And unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, when you look at the people who run these gambling companies, they are extremely filthy rich people, very wealthy people. But they are making more money from the poorest of the poor in our society. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, we have an obligation and a duty to protect our poor people from being taken advantage of, to ensure that we have good laws, that will protect them, that will not make gambling look like it's a very good thing, Honorable Speaker. And as I said, since it is, in fact, I know in some religions, Honorable Speaker, they consider it to be a sin. And that is why I said even in tax matters, this should be classified as a sin tax. And therefore, we cannot be encouraging reduction of taxes. And that's why I said I completely disagree. And I know Honorable Amashukuru, the Vice Chair, was here. I had indicated to them I disagree with the proposals in their report to reduce that tax. If anything, today we have, I think, excise duty at 12.5% in the last finance bill, which we passed only in July of this year. We had 5% withholding tax. Therefore, you are proposing not even to move from 15, you are proposing a tax cut of about a gross of 17.5 to 13%. Honorable Speaker, not during such hard economic times when we should be looking for avenues to raise every extra shilling. I will therefore be proposing amendments at the right time, Honorable Speaker, in relation to that, clause 45 and clause 46, that touch on levies and taxes, Honorable Speaker. With that, I beg to move and request the Deputy Whip, who is also a member of the committee, who was designated by the Chair and the Vice Chair to second, on behalf of the committee to second. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Naomi Wako, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support the Leader of Majority in moving the Gambling Control Bill 2023, National Assembly Bill number 70 of 2023, as it has just been read. Mr. Speaker, it is clear that gambling is attracting a lot of attention and also has many people who practice in our country. And that is why Gambling Control Bill 2023 is here to seek and replace the outstanding Betting, Lottery, and Gaming Act of 1960. This was done. The Act of 1960 is long time ago, many years ago, and I believe not many people who are here today were born by that time. The bill seeks to institute a comprehensive legislative framework for the regulation gambling in Kenya, with specific emphasis on incorporating safe gambling principles within the sector. Additionally, the bill seeks to establish the Gambling Regulatory Authority, which shall bear the responsibility of licensing, regulating the gambling sector. Mr. Speaker, we have had a lot of challenges, just as I said yesterday with the lottery, that even with gambling, many people have ruined their lives simply because of wasting their money, anticipating to be rich the following day, and in a way, it has also made people to be lazy because they believe in waking up every morning, doing this, and getting rich without working very hard. And so this particular gambling control bill will help us to put in place all the measures that are needed, legislative framework that will guide and regulate gambling in Kenya. And again, just to have the gambling principles within all the sectors, and again having gambling regulatory authority, whereby all the matters that concerns gambling will come under them, and they'll be able, the authority will be able to regulate, the authority will be able to investigate, the authority will be able to act in case of anything. Honorable Speaker, the Department Committee on Sports and Culture, in its consideration of the bill, noted the inadequacy of the current legal and institutional framework in addressing modern challenges existing within the gambling sector. Additionally, the committee expressed concerns about the organization, enforcement, and consumer protection aspects of gambling activities in Kenya. The committee therefore acknowledges the need for comprehensive overhaul for the legal framework relating to gambling in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, those who have been practicing gambling in our country have been exposed in many ways and have not had any protection. Many of them have lost even their properties. Many have even not been given their due rights. And that is why many of the people who have been in gambling have ended up being frustrated fellows, have been moved to depression and all these other things. And many of them keep complaining about the practice and all these other things. And when this bill will be approved, their protection will be assured, and even the people who own the gambling companies will be able to live within that and be able to give the people of our country their due rights. Honorable Speaker, the bill recognizes that gambling is a shared function between the national government and the county government. And it is important for us to know that yes, the policies are made, and it is there for both the national government and also the county government, because most of the people who practice this are within our counties and at the grassroots level. And that is why this will help our country, because it provides for the schedule to the Constitution. The bill, therefore, assigns a specific role to the two level governments and proposes concurrent regulatory functions for the national and county governments in gambling activity. Mr. Speaker, the bill also seeks to do the following. Number one, provide framework for the regulation and control of gambling activity. Once we do that, then we have protected the interest of the people who continue doing this and investing in this particular thing. And even if most of us are not for the idea, now that already most of our people, majority of Kenyans are practicing this, and some believe that it is the only way they can earn their living. Honorable Speaker, the only honorable thing that this House can do is to come up with this bill so that they can be well protected. Again, the bill will be, they expressly provide for the gambling activity that shall be legal in Kenya while prohibiting illegal forms of gambling. Others have taken advantage by doing illegal business here, and so this bill will protect those who have invested and those who have registered and have had their license, so that others will not be practicing this illegally. Again, the bill will promote the development of a responsible gambling industry. In the past, some people have been cheating Kenyans, and others have been, conning people in different ways, but this bill will bring that to an end. And again, it will minimize the social harm associated with gambling, because Kenyans will be given enough education. The last one, the bill will provide for the establishment of mechanism for the resolution of dispute relating to gambling. Again, many people have had conflict, and in order for us to have peaceful coexistence among our people, and also those who are practicing this to enjoy, then we can only put this into practice. Honorable Speaker, inasmuch as gambling is considered to be demerit good, its regulation brings forth some advantages to Kenya. One of the main highlights of the bill is that it seeks to provide an avenue for the generation of essential revenue for the government. Clause 45 of the bill provides for the payment of gambling tax. And it is on that we have the 15% rate of the gross gambling revenue, and which funds shall be remitted to the Sports, Arts, Social Development Fund, and the net effect of that will, of course, be positive, because through that revenue, many of the people will be able to transform their lives. The artists, the people who are doing sports, young people who are talented in different ways. And in our country today, we have many people who are also negatively affected by drugs, because the drug addiction is quite high due to lack of job in our country. And rehabilitation centers will be built. People will be given a lot of counseling. People will be rehabilitated. And maybe we can even come up with a proposal whereby all the people who are rehabilitated can be given some seed money so that they can go and begin a better life, do small businesses here and there so that they can improve their lives. Because of that, we need to support this bill so that it can have that positive impact on our people. And even for those who will be registering and having their license, it is good for them to give back to the society, because this is an area where mainly those people who do not have a lot are engaged in, because they believe in creating their wealth through this. Then they invest a lot in this. Let even the people who will be licensed give back to the society by going back to the communities, improving their lives, supporting the poor, supporting the vulnerable people, orphans, and even the institutions that take care of vulnerable children in our midst. Mr. Speaker, another key aspect of the bill is that it provides measures to mitigate the harm associated with gambling. These measures include public sensitization, self-exclusion, enforcement against illegal gambling, promotion of responsible gambling, advertising restriction, and criminalization of gambling by young persons. Further, the bill proposes stricter measures to mitigate issues related to gambling addiction. Mr. Speaker, the Department Committee on Sports and Culture have had enough interaction with stakeholders. Submissions have been done. Different ministries, Ministry of Youth Affairs, Ministry of Sports, and all the others have participated, and they have given their views. Mr. Speaker, the committee has considered this, and I take note that gambling.
Give her 1 minute to wind up. Give her 1 minute.
Yes, thank you. Honorable Speaker, I take note that Gambling Control Bill presents comprehensive and modernized approach to the regulation of gambling in Kenya. It aims to balance the economic benefits of the industry. And with those few remarks, I beg to second. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Naomi. Honorable members, I now propose the question that the Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly Bill number 70 of 2023, be now read a second time. Carol Omondi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I'm a member of the committee, so I rise to support the bill. First, by recognizing that it has a very solid policy foundation. I think we have the gambling policy passed in 2022, which, among other things, seeks to balance between the need for a friendly investment climate, but also to establish a very robust regulatory regime for this particular sector by transforming gambling into a social force for social development. And one of the key planks of that policy is how to raise additional revenues both for national government and the county government. So this particular bill is very timely, and the policy, of 2023 this bill gives life to that particular policy. Mr. Speaker, gambling, like tobacco, alcohol, prostitution, drugs, junk food, and all other demerit goods, tend to present challenges to many governments. Their consumption is generally considered socially unacceptable or undesirable, but at the same time, it is almost impossible to stamp them out completely because of their perceived negative effects to the consumers. Consequently, a balance has to be established as to how to limit their overconsumption or cases of addiction, damage to health, and the various dysfunctional social lives they cause, plus also a lot of external costs to third parties. But they also provide a very rich avenue for new emerging and very transnational crimes like tax evasion, money laundering, and financing of terrorism. In Kenya today, Mr. Speaker, the gross revenue for gambling is in excess of $250 million. And this sector is growing year on at 27 to 30%. You can imagine how much money is circulating in it. This particular bill seeks to establish the Gambling Authority of Kenya, the Gambling Appeals Tribunal, and a gambling tax, which, as you have heard, the majority leader would like to propose a higher regime. From our analysis, gambling tax in the region ranges from 15 to 25%, so we'll debate that at the right time. But also, it seeks to generate revenue for what we call good causes. This is culture, sports, arts, recreation, heritage, protection of vulnerable groups such as PWDs, aged, orphans, protection, rehabilitation of problem gamblers, environment, climate change, relief, innovation, education, entrepreneurship, libraries, and supporting emergencies. But we also looked at the policy and incorporated certain safety measures that would help create sanity in this sector. For example, we are proposing restriction on gambling advertisement, both to the news companies, but also to the gambling companies, and also the times and the regime of how gambling advertisement should be handled so as to protect children and other vulnerable groups. We are also, in the bill, proposing regulation of online gambling. This is where people gamble on the internet or through use of remote communication. And this is very addictive, but also presents transnational issues on jurisdiction as also, opportunities for money laundering and financing of terrorism. And then we have proposed in the bill very strict deposit limits so that people gamble in small amounts to avoid impulsive gambling. And we have also proposed restriction on use of what are called prediction apps. In fact, we had a small group of very good Kenyans called Gambling Association Society of Kenya, led by a gentleman called Nelson Bwire and his friend, I think, Kipto, who educated us a lot about these prediction apps where they give people false sense of comfort and you continue gambling very heavily. But I think there are also issues of public awareness, and we have also introduced insurance surety schemes equivalent to what obtains in banking industry, depositors protection, so that those who come to establish gambling businesses here provide security in case they run away, so that those who have won prizes don't lose out. And there are also new provisions that are novel on savings. So if people are gambling, there'll be an amount of money that will be deducted to be saved for their own personal use at a later date. And my Honorable Chair, I would like to note that there's a lot of work that we still need to do in this particular sector. We have very many challenges when it comes to the gambling sector. Amongst them is the fact that, as I've said, issues of tax evasion, money laundering, and financing of terrorism. But there's also the issue, the requirement that if you want to license somebody, you have to vet, do security checks, and undertake heavy due diligence on their backgrounds. And we have had lapses in enforcement mechanisms so as to curb illegal gambling and ensure effectiveness of self-exclusion measures. This is where a person acknowledges he's an addict, or close members of his family will record that he's an addict to gambling, and then we put him on a program to be excluded from going into casinos and other places. And we also require strong enforcement to do public awareness campaigns, promote responsible gambling behaviors, and protection of the young, vulnerable, and other members of society. Consequently, we are appealing to the Ministry of Interior as the ministry that will be responsible for this particular act to take these measures very seriously so as to protect the public. There's still a bit of work that we need to do which we were not able to achieve, and hopefully the government side will see it fit to find ways of working on these new areas. One is prohibition of credit facilities for gamblers. There are people who go to Fuliza, borrow money, and quickly M-Pesa it to a gambling pay bill. We think there is scope for regulation here so that those dealing with online lending can be restrained from allowing transfers of money from their facilities to well-known gambling pay bills. We also want to impose restrictions on other activities, but also call upon competition for licenses. In other jurisdictions, you don't just walk in, apply, and pay 1 million shillings. Licenses for gambling are actually advertised, and people compete so that the government can raise additional revenue. I think there'll be need to create some further work on that, so that licenses are competed for, gambling licenses, just like we did for Safaricom, Airtel, and the rest. And also the prediction apps, gambling prediction apps, I think we need to do some work, additional work, and restrict it. But most importantly, we need to anchor the Sports, Arts, and Social Development Fund, where much of this gambling levy will be going into, in an act of parliament. Presently, I think it is established by a regulation, and that is not very solid enough. I think the governmental side should bring a bill to help us deal with those issues. With those remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Thank you. The Honorable Donya Doris, member for Kisii.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise to support because, Madam Speaker, I remember I used to bet sometimes back, and when you are waiting to receive the money or not to receive the money, it's sickening. So many people have suffered from stress. Others have borrowed in vain without returning because they feel that if they practice the betting, they will make their lives better, Madam Speaker. When there are regulations in this whole activity, people will tend to do more work that is productive than betting itself. So many people, Madam Speaker, have committed suicide because maybe they've either lost or they've lost the money that they had lended. When you tune on into radio stations, lately there is not much that is discussed, Madam Speaker, apart from the betting. The messaging is very attractive, Madam Speaker, to the people that they believe if they bet with 10 shillings or 5 shillings, they are going to get millions of shillings. They hang on, they even forget to go to their duties, because when they look at the salary that they have of maybe, they will be getting 30,000 in a month, and when they get the sweet information that when you bet in a day with 10 shillings or even 50 shillings, you are going to get 1 million. You can imagine how unproductive a society can be when people rely on this. On the other side, if these rules are not put, Madam Speaker, we will find out that all our generation, when we had this thing of LGBTQ, people were asking, if I'm a member of that LGBTQ, am I going to be given money? Everything is resonating around money and not how one is becoming productive. So I support this, Madam Speaker. When the regulations are put, we have a more productive ground to play within. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Yatta, Honorable Basil Robert.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm a member of this committee, and I appreciate the majority leader for bringing this bill to the House. As my friends have said, it's important we look at the cons and the pros of this industry. Gambling is very addictive, Madam Speaker. So many people have committed suicides. Young people have not been able to complete school because of gambling. Loss of properties for so many. family separations because of gambling, Madam Speaker. Those are some of the cons that this particular industry brings. When I talk about the pros of the industry, gambling does generate employment to so many young people. It does generate revenue for the country. And Madam Speaker, gambling does bring charitable work, particularly when you talk of corporate social responsibilities that is associated with the operators in this particular industry. Madam Speaker, the reason why I support this particular bill, one of it, in addition to the pros that I've already stated, it terms illegal gambling. Madam Speaker, a lot of illegal gambling has been taking place, particularly the offshore gambling, and Kenya as a country has been losing a lot of money. Number two, Madam Speaker, the reason why I'm supporting the bill, it does protect minors from the effect associated with this particular industry, and that is one of the very solid reasons why I'm behind the people supporting the bill. Madam Speaker, I've noted the majority leader is not in the House, but I wanted to mention to him the reason why we wanted to reduce the taxation from 15% to 13%. One of the simple reasons why gamblers are moving to illegal gambling is because when you put multiple taxation, you discourage the operators and you attract, or you make it attractive for people to do online and offshore gambling, which as a result makes this country lose a lot of money when at the same time we want to generate money. Madam Speaker, we are also recommending for unified tax to be employed in this particular industry. Some countries have done it and have been able to generate more money because the bottom line of regulating these particular industries is to tame illegal gambling, generate more revenue for the country, as well as protect people who could otherwise be harmed by this particular industry. So, Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I join my friends in supporting this particular bill and looking forward to ensure that the industry can be so beneficial to the nation. Thank you. I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Bishop Jackson Kosgei.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. From the onset, I am a member of the committee that deliberated on the same, and I take the floor to support the bill. This, as has been mentioned, is to balance between the negative and the positive impact of this gaming. I once listened to a friend say, this is one thing you cannot put up with, but you cannot do without it. Because of that, there is need for a regulation to regulate the environment within which the same is done. It is being undertaken and practiced by our brothers and sisters, our fathers, our children, our friends. We cannot bury our heads in the sand and pretend that it is not happening. Because of that, the country and nation and government has a duty to protect its own people from such practices while they practice and exercise and enjoy their freedoms. That environment must ensure that the same are protected. Number two, Mr. Speaker, is that we wanted to, in this bill, regulation is necessary so that we can protect the vulnerable in society, which includes children. We also looked at it, and as we went through, being an old act that was enacted in 1960, we felt that we must make the law responsive to the current needs, challenges of our time, including technology. So it is important that this bill be enacted to reveal our practices in the past. The last one of the consideration was about the people who have been captured and made addict to this, that they needed to be assisted. They need an assistant. They need to be helped out of it. Those who have desired to leave the act of gambling, there is got to be a legal environment that provides instruments that will assist and protect families also of the person involved to be able to have a say in managing a person who has reached this stage. We need a law for that. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I support the bill. Thank you.
Kimani Kuria.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And from the onset, I would like to thank the Committee on Sports for the good work they have done on this bill. However, Honorable Speaker, as you're aware, as per our standing orders, as the Chair of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning, I did write to the Speaker asking that Clause 46 and Clause 47, because Clause 45 and 46, because they are matters on taxation to be handled by the Committee of Finance and National Planning. We are going to have a meeting with stakeholders tomorrow, and thereafter we'll also table our own findings and report and move amendments accordingly on this particular clauses. Honorable Speaker, there are at least 117 betting and gaming firms operating in Kenya. And most of these, Honorable Speaker, operate on online platforms. Honorable Speaker, the matter of betting and gaming in this country is very hot, is very thorny, and sometimes it's difficult to really have a stand on this particular matter, because some religions, for example, I know Islam actually do ban gaming. We know the side effects gaming has on it being an addictive behavior. Talk about young people across the country who make betting their day-to-day business. So instead of someone going to work, then their work is just to wake up and bet, Honorable Speaker. I have never bet in my life apart from the raffles that I buy maybe for a church function or something. But I've seen what this betting addiction has done to people, Honorable Speaker. However, there are benefits that accrue in this sector. One of them, Honorable Speaker, is one of our biggest sectors that in terms of our revenue collection, Honorable Speaker. A quick look at the numbers for the financial year 22-23, exercise on betting services, we collected 6.64 billion shillings. Withholding tax on winnings from betting and gaming, we collected 8.68 billion shillings, a total of 15.326 billion. That is compared to 11 billion shillings the previous year, which means we can compare how much we collected in 21, 22, and 2023. We actually were able to collect 4 billion shillings more. After the enactment of the Finance Act, where we increased the withholding tax and the excess duty, just for the first quarter of this financial year of 23-24, excise on betting services, we have collected 3.3 billion shillings, withholding on tax on betting 3.3 billion shillings, a total of 6.56 billion shillings. So you can see, by the end, if this projection continues for the rest of the year, if those taxes are not even altered as they are, we are likely to collect around 24 billion shillings, which is 10 billion shillings more than what we collected last financial year, Honorable Speaker. So the betting sector, therefore, remains very, very critical in terms of revenues for this country that we really need in terms of moving our country forward and making sure that we rely on our own resources rather than having to go and borrow, Honorable Speaker. However, there is need to relook at some of these particular taxes and how they're administered, and see how we can reduce the cost of tax administration, but consequently, but effectively raise more revenues. Because if you look, for example, excess duty on gaming is at 7.5%, then of course the companies pay their corporation tax out of their profit at 30%. There's a 20% withholding tax on winnings, and then the betting tax is being proposed at 15%, the gambling tax, again a new tax at 15%, and then you add VAT and you add payee. And that is why the Committee on Sports were attempting to come up to propose that there be a gross game revenue where we have one flat rate for this gaming sector. So that would consequently, first of all, leave more money with the pandas, therefore making sure that the chances of winning actually get to increase. increase in tax revenues because now we have a simplified tax process. But at the same time, Honorable Speaker, making sure that the cost of administering those particular taxes for the players is actually getting reduced. But Honorable Speaker, I would not want to preempt the decision that the committee is going to make after its deliberation. So these are some of the options that we are looking at and deliberating on, Honorable Speaker. We tabled the national tax policy last week, Honorable Speaker. We hope that's going to come to debate before we go on recess. It's actually on the order paper of this afternoon. I don't know, but I doubt if we'll be able to get to that order, where we're saying that we need to have a more predictive tax environment, where a business that comes and sets up here in Kenya can ascertain for a fact that within an X amount of time, then these particular taxes are not likely to change. Because if we keep changing, Honorable Speaker, it has a very adverse effects on our investors, and which could even mean that some of them relocating to other countries and us losing on foreign domestic investment, Honorable Speaker. So we're hoping that we have a very robust conversation around this area. So the import now of this particular tax, that's why it has to be looked on very, very keenly, so that we do not stand a chance. Because, Honorable Speaker, the gaming sector has greatly improved. In many years ago, we used to have gaming on horse races, on car races. They were physical, you had to be physically there. But with the migration of the presence of online platforms and even a presence of digital payment methods like digital currencies, bitcoins and cryptocurrencies and all that, that means that we could, if we make the environment too unconducive for business, that means that these particular entities have either an option of relocating to a different country, as I said, or just operating as a purely online platform and getting away from the payment systems, because bank transactions and M-Pesa transactions have a paper trail. But if you talk about those other digital payments like bitcoins and cryptos, which are becoming very, very frequently used, especially by Kenyans, Honorable Speaker, then we would have lost money in this entire sector, Honorable Speaker. But most importantly is the morality also, and this will be my clarion call to the players in these sectors. The morality in which they're doing business, them making sure that they try to stem out this case of addiction, some of this money as proposed in the bill being reinforced to make sure that it goes to, especially to sporting activities, so that we're not just betting for the sake of it, but that betting can actually be used to grow our sports sector. So that you're not just putting bets on the game between Manchester United and that bad team called Arsenal, but we have betting on our local football and volleyball teams, Honorable Speaker, and that will create enthusiasm in these particular sports and games, and make sure that our young people are engaged, make sure these talents are scouted early, Honorable Speaker. So the ring-fencing of this to be used now for those particular important activities, Honorable Speaker, would be very, very beneficial to this country, Honorable Speaker. Those will be my humble submissions. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Member of Parliament for Mandera West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I also stand to support and also clear some issues that has been discussed here. As far as gambling is concerned, it was raised here by one of the speakers that some Islamic countries have made these laws and making a lot of money out of it. I want to clear the air by saying that Islamically, gambling is illegal, is haram, is not allowed. So whoever is doing it, whichever government is doing it as its government, but it should not be taken as having been allowed Islamically. On the other hand, gambling is a continuous thing all over the world. Even in this country, there are a lot of people who are gambling day in, day out. And some of them are gambling at the expense of their own family's survival. You see people stealing money, borrowing money to go and gamble so as to get rich in a few seconds or in a few minutes or in an hour or so. But ultimately, what normally happens is that the person loses the money which he or she might have stolen or might have borrowed, And, or maybe it could be the little money that could have fed his family, his children that day. And then the person gets frustrated. He gets a mental breakdown. And ultimately, you see the person walking on the streets and collecting rubbish just because he got involved in an illegal, haram thing that is not allowed anywhere in this world. For this to be, I think, stopped, the government of Kenya should tax it very heavily. Instead of looking for, instead of taxing, put it very heavily on fuel and other things. These are the sort of things that need to be taxed. Taxed so heavily to an extent of maybe 30–40%, and so that many of the people will be out of the market, their gaming will reduce. Of course, it will never end. There are people who are so much addicted to it, and they will continue doing it. But in that way, it will reduce, the numbers will reduce, so the numbers of Kenyans who are negatively affected because of so much involved in gambling will reduce drastically, and hence we shall have more healthy persons on our streets who are able to support their families with other ways and means. Thank you so much. With that, I support.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Allow me also to add my voice on this extremely important bill. Honorable Speaker, let me start by saying that it is difficult to entirely regulate gambling, but I've seen different jurisdictions, different countries, and now they have tried to do to work with regulating gambling. For instance, I've looked at the U.S. The U.S. has a license that is given to all the gambling shops, and they make sure that they are strictly adhered to, that no one under the age of 18 is allowed to gamble. It is the same scenario in the UK. Unfortunately, back home, it is a very, very dire situation. And I'll give an example of my constituents recently when I visited with the PS Interior, Raymond Omolo, Dr. Raymond Omolo. And women came and demanded that within the shops there are gambling machines. And the young men and women every single day wake up in the morning to go to the centers to gamble. Such kind of gambling is what is killing a generation. Honorable Speaker, we have the responsibility as honorable members to make sure that we have a country that produces young people, women and men of substance in society that do not believe that there are shortcuts in making it in life. One of the easiest ways that our people have been deceived that you can quickly get some money is to gamble. It has totally killed families. People have gone into depression, and it becomes an addiction. Actually, there's a disease called gambling addiction, and when you don't gamble, you feel like you feel the depression that one gets when you are fighting alcoholism. It is a similar problem, and if we do not get rid of it, we will have a problem. In fact, we should go further to make sure that strict penalties are given to people who allow underage to gamble. Society must be shaped in accordance to living morally, and it will be unfortunate if this House do not provide such legislation. So I really want to laud the Committee on Sports for coming up with such strict legislation and making sure that gambling does not exist within this country, and if they do, then we make sure that we have extremely strict laws to disallow the abuse of gambling. It should also be, there should also be time on what time and certificates are given and what time gambling can be played. There are those ones that we can't regulate easily, that we also must provide serious legislation like online gambling that happens a lot, and so that it is not misconstrued. Gambling is a resource and a revenue earner to the country. Honorable Speaker, I just looked how much it generates in the U.S. Economy, and it's mind-boggling, $329 billion annually, but only because there are restrictions. In fact, there are like cities that purposely are gambling destinations like Los Angeles. In Kenya, we must make sure that it is prudent, it becomes neat, so that not every kiosk in the village is allowed as a shop for gambling. Young people have fights with their parents. They want to sell land because they want to go and gamble. You find women who are married trying to go and gamble. You find even church ministers going to gamble, or many people in society trying to make quick bucks from gambling. Honorable Speaker, this proposed bill could not have come at a better time than this, and I truly support Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much.
Honorable Ekomas Mutuse here. Oh, he just got his name in the end. Okay, the Honorable Mary, MP for Tenderet. Followed by the Honorable MP for Garissa Township.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill. Honorable Speaker, gambling, lotteries, and many other forms of business that pertains to almost like a dice are very historical to mankind. Gambling has actually had a long history, even in the Christian world, and in the life of many civilizations. In Kenya here, gambling has been in existence for quite some time. However, there's never been a very good regulatory framework to ensure that we have institutions, we have legal mechanisms to make sure that the business of gambling and the process of gambling are regulated. Honorable Speaker, the Committee on Sports saw it right, and I think I want to thank the government and even Majority Leader for bringing these two bills. Yesterday we discussed the lotteries bill, and today the gambling bill is to bring sanity and order. This industry has a lot of money. It has an aspect of addiction, Mr. Speaker, that if not well regulated, it can actually cause a number of problems in families, especially the underage. It is known that many families are broken down because of improper and regulated gambling activities. Some individuals have lost their livelihoods because they went out to the casinos, they went out to amusement centers, and actually lost most of this through the process of gambling. This bill, through its many clauses, from clause 45 onwards, tries to establish a very clear organization framework. How can the amusement park be organized? How can gambling be regulated and done properly? The laws that make sure that areas that are not well regulated, unregulated gambling is disallowed because it promotes crime, it promotes addiction, and it also promotes bad behavior. Two, the gambling industry actually generates a lot of revenue in form of taxes, as the Chair Finance and Planning has indicated. Over 14 billion shillings are raised in various forms of taxation. But this money also can actually be put into good use, actually in promoting national development in terms of social development, the welfare of the citizens. Even in some countries in Europe, Honorable Speaker, it has been found that the monies that are raised through gambling and lotteries have been used to construct rehabilitation centers, schools, and other public entities that are beneficial to man. So this particular bill tries to address the gambling and bring order in the gambling industry to make sure that it issues licenses, it also issues permits, it also makes sure that those who do not follow the law, their permits are withdrawn or their licenses are withdrawn, and there is a general regulatory framework in place so that many cultures, many religions, like Islam, has prohibited it because it has a lot of negativity in it. That's why this law is trying to bring sanity and order in this particular industry. Mr. Speaker, I would also want to say that as the government tries to do this, it also has to look into some very good aspects of gambling, especially in generation of revenue, what the young men are doing on the online, what the young men are doing in the amusement parks, and what the young people are also doing in the slot machines. All this is very important if well regulated, if well administered, and that is why we have the gambling board, the lottery board, and it has specific functions for all these boards. As much as it is done in a very well-organized manner, Mr. Speaker, this is going to be a new area where the government can raise revenues, where the government is able to run, it will be able to get revenue to run and facilitate institutions. Lastly, I also want to also say that the monies that will be raised from this gambling work shall also be used to establish and assist those who have become addicts, what we call rehabilitation centers, because we have a number of individuals who get addicted to this. So we also need to plow back this money to make sure that those who have been addicted in one way or another, or been affected by this industry, are actually saved and taken care of. I support Honorable Speaker, and thank you.
The township, and then followed by the MP for Kangundo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for also giving me this opportunity to air my views on this very important bill. Mr. Speaker, as a country or as legislators or leaders of this country, it's very important we take such steps in terms of protecting our young generation who have unfortunately fallen into traps of trying to make a life or take a shortcut in making a living out of gambling. Gambling, in the past we knew as a very high-end business where those who participate and pertain to it were people of high income, very rich people. But as we see today, every Kenyan, even the young people who are not working, in the only shillings they get or the only kind of money they come into contact, they rush into gambling. It looks like every shop or any center, it has a gambling shop, and this encourages young people in terms of getting accessibility to these centers. Again, we have radio stations who are now promoting online gambling. There's issues here when young people hear that so-and-so has made 500,000 out of gambling, but they do not know the amount of investment or the amount of money that young other person who won the 500,000 has put so that he gets that 500. Or the other people, Kenyans, who have also played that game, participated in the game, the amount of money that this country is wasted through gambling is so much. So it is important for us as leaders and as legislators to come up with this kind of bill to protect our young people, not necessarily the young people, even adults who are now become addictive to the game. It is very highly addictive game that needs to be regulated very well, and that needs to be protected from those who are making a rich, from very desperate people who are trying to make quick rich or are trying to get quick money out of this. Mr. Speaker, we are killing a very productive generation that should have contributed better to the development of this country. So it is important that this industry is regulated. It is very important that the money that is generated out of gambling is used into protecting those who have fallen victim to this problem, like putting up rehabilitation centers, like putting up health facilities for the communities that are very much affected. It is no wonder our religion, Islam, has always prohibited or stood against this, because it was known and was seen long time ago that the effect that this kind of business can bring to the people. Again, crime is a very big thing associated with gambling. those who partake this business, those who play the game, are forced into criminal activities so that they be able to get money to come and keep on playing this game. And I mean, from many years, those of us who had the opportunity to watch movies have seen how this thing is played, how it is so dangerous if you lose your money, what it can lead you to. So this game or this business must highly be taxed by the government. In the bill, it suggests up to about 15%. My suggestion will have been that it goes up to 30% or more, so that it becomes very hard for anybody who is playing this game or anybody who is practicing this business is discouraged from participating or taking part in this business. With those remarks, I support the bill, and I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving this opportunity to hand my voice on this gambling bill or lottery bill. Honorable Speaker, I stand to support with amendments. If you see the gambling, how the different jurisprudence they have put it, Honorable Speaker, it's like a game. This is a game, our sport like another sport. So I also like to take the opportunity to congratulate all the gamblers in Kenya and all over the world. Historically, where we come from, the life has been a gambling. Many people, they don't know when they are living, they are gambling, even when they are trying also to invest in business. So we cannot stand and say that gambling is not part of human life. Historically, we had Russian marionette games, we had too many kind of games. Even us, in our childhood, when we were growing, we started gambling in a village, the kind of gamble we end. So we cannot discourage gambling. So if you feel you are man and strong enough, wake up and gamble. What we are saying that we need to put laws to discourage our young people not to get drunk with gambling. But gambling in real sense is a good game. So I say that it is a good law which we need to make for gamblers also to be able to make their money when they are doing the game. If you feel you are man enough, put your million, I put my million, we play the game. And I praise the committee for coming with the law to work on the gambling, at least to avoid the village issues and fight we're having in the streets with the young boys. Honorable Speaker, as I say, the amendment which you need to look about when you're talking about gambling, it is an investment. There is somebody who comes to invest on that business. It is the high time we see how to attract many investors by giving low taxes, by also giving low fees which are paid to people to start business. If you see the Schedule 4, the kind of fee they are putting, 200 million is too much. We need to fill the investors. We need to fill opportunity where we are not letting only foreigners to come to do business in our country. We need to open a good environment, which we are giving, not only thinking like gambling, you have to gamble 1 million. Where we are giving a village man to open a gamble, people to gamble for 50 shillings and have a license. So that gambler, if you're opening a business for people to gamble for less than 10,000, where will he get the 200 million? So it is true. I don't like the phenomena where we feel that anything which is coming, we need to make money, we need to make money. No, we need also to make people live their living. We need to give people opportunity to feel that we are enjoying our life. We are not living for people to make money. We are not living us to make money. We need to open opportunities, games, and the sports of different sports that people, they can enjoy their sports. So, Honorable Speaker, I can see that we need to check the fees set for this business. We should not just put fees for the sake to put people fail not to go to that industry. We need to put it open. It is working online. Because like I can see a lot of gambling is happening in the online for the sports. For you bet this team, you bet this team. So those people who end up doing those gambling online, not even easy to get them pay fees. But our innocent people, businessmen, who have come and opened the offices here in Kenya, they are the ones who are punishing them to pay these fees. So we need to be considerate when we are setting the value for charges of these fees. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. As I said, I support with amendments. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi, followed by the Honorable Mutunga John.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. I also want to add my voice on this very, very important bill, that motion, that actually the whole idea with this one is to bring some sanity into the gambling. Because as explained by many, everybody talking about it, we are seeing, and seeing is to believe. We are seeing what is happening. Mr. Speaker, I think first and foremost, because of what the bill is trying to suggest, basically to bring some sanity in this particular game, I think I want to take on onset to say I think I'll support it 100% of my effort. Because what he's trying to do, from what I'm seeing, and from what the speaker, the leader of the majority said, was first of all to provide regulation for us to be able to see that the gambling itself is safe. Today, and you have been told and we have seen that I actually experienced a very sad situation, and also experienced a very excitement situation. One, a boy who actually stole money from the parents and disappeared for a week just to go gambling. But at the same time, the positive part of it is that I saw my neighbor who took part in the whole thing and managed to get 500,000 shillings. I think that again, you know, it's both sides. But the most important thing is that at least this, as it is not regulated properly. And therefore, I think when you pass this, you'll be able to make sure that the regulations are there, the betting and even the casino, whatever they are, the price giving out through the media, as we see that in the TV, that you do this, put 500 shillings, or even 50 shillings, or even 100 shillings, and you get whatever it is. That again is going to be regulated, and therefore I want to say that's the right thing to do. Of course, we also, as I've mentioned, there are also the negative part of it. There are those who actually are addicted, and therefore the price that we are going to get from this passage of this is that we'll be able to at least have a regulation to regulate this, so that those who are actually addicted, we can do the research and see what we can do to reduce that kind of behavior for people who actually do nothing but do the betting, and some of them actually steal. And one guy stopped me in Kitale and said, "Mzee, can you stop, because I've seen some way of making money." And you know, what is it? He wanted me to give him 200 shillings so that I can take part in this game. So I am saying that this is actually something that can be able to, you'll have a research, we'll have a license, those who are licensed, those who are able to do what is supposed to, and of course we'll have research. And the research will come from us. The participants and the other Kenyans tell you, okay, the best way of doing this is ABCD, so that it can be able to reduce those who want to do the gambling for the sake of it, and those who can even go to the extent of stealing money to be able to go for gambling. So that again is something that I see this particular bill be able to help us to regulate this. And for that reason, Mr. Speaker, I want to say we actually want to pass this bill so that we can be able to have this this particular game regulated and see whether we can be able to get from. Of course, there's also money being taxes are there. There's revenue for the whoever, I think, the sports and the ministry, and so it's something that is very positive. And let's look at it positively other than looking at it negatively. I want to take this opportunity and say I support. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I would like to thank the Committee on Sports for thinking through this bill and making the proposals they have made, which are really good. Honourable Speaker, this legislation comes in to basically not only to regulate, but also to control gambling, because gambling needs to be controlled. Gambling has no age group, although the legislation appears to put some age setting. Gambling is an extremely, and it is important to control because it's an extremely addictive game. It's about the most addictive game that we know about. It has impoverished many. You should see the levels of destitution when people are borrowing money to go and continue gambling, although they will not tell you anyway. Last week, I remember one time, there was a police roundup in my constituency, and I happened to talk to them and hear them out. And they were telling me that there has been some cheap Chinese gambling machines that have been infiltrated into the community. And almost everybody now was in gambling. So they had to get rid of them so that they can contain people back to their work. It should be controlled and contained because it's about the most time-consuming activity. Therefore, we need to support our people to do productive work. It's also a lazy man's job. Those who want to be lazy actually engage in gambling. Those who don't want to work. Kenya is a working nation. I remember with a lot of nostalgia the time of Kibaki when he told us, let us go and work. I'm aware ni bure kabisa. So I think we don't want to call our people bure kabisa, but we're saying it is those people who do not want to work hard that engage in bad and civil. Gambling is even more captivating in the sense that people seem to like it. It takes money from the poorest segment of the poor. And we have an obligation, as the leader majority said, to protect our poor people from some of these extortionist kind of games. The levels of destitution are appalling. Honourable Speaker, it has taken people back to poverty, even people who have probably even trying to do something and have started to earn decent living. Honourable Speaker, I want to address the issue of 15% vis-a-vis the committee's proposal. I listened very carefully to the contributions made by Honourable Basil. Honourable Speaker, we also would like it to happen a lot more here than otherwise. If we put 15% as the levy, and it dissuades this activity happening here, we will not get any revenue. They will switch to the ICT-based or the electronic gambling, and therefore you lose more revenue. It is important a point that we need to consider, because the committee must have thought through it very, very carefully. With the new innovations, with ICT, then we risk even losing the very productive, community, part of the community, people engaging for a very long time in gambling. Gambling, basically, this gambling bill has come in to replace many legislations that have been there. It will also make the judicial services a lot easier, because we'll have clear, references instead of referring to very many laws. Then we shall refer maybe to clauses within one law. So it is important that we have it at this point in time. Gambling, the regulatory authority will definitely have a lot of work to do. And it is important that we prevail upon the regulatory authority to follow up the activities of gambling, even the adversarial activities of gambling, to tax them so that we can get more money. Because I think there's a lot of gambling within the media than otherwise. Honourable Speaker, I admire the committee's proposals of absolute figures on what probably is proposed as taxes in the schedules. But absolute figures, Honourable Speaker, do not allow for flexibility. So it will be important that we translate these absolute figures to some proportions or some percentages. That would help us probably to look at changing scenarios and changing circumstances, and therefore adjusting accordingly. It is important for us to create a responsible gambling industry. Therefore, the legislation is key in terms of basically removing the irregularities that are there and having the price practice more organized, more regulated, and more systematic. putting in some standards so that at least as a country we engage in something that we are very sure of, something that we can control, and something that we can basically advise in terms of growth and development. Madam Speaker, I also would like to admire the fact that the money is proposed to be used a lot more to rehabilitate those who have been through the process. Well, it's seen money, and people have suffered, but they also have lost probably their bearing, and therefore they need to be rehabilitated. So it is actually wise to use this money to rehabilitate them back to normalcy. Madam Speaker, I want to recognize what the honorable member, one of the honorable members said about there being a policy which basically was passed in 2022 and which has regulates regulates the act of gambling. This particular policy needs a legislative backup so that it can be effectively implemented. And if we have segmented and many pieces of legislation, implementing one policy, it's not very good. There's lack of clarity, and therefore it is important. The bill proposes a provision of security, which is important. We need secure surroundings, we need secure premises, we need secure practices that our people will be engaging in. Therefore, it is important. So, Honourable Speaker, this bill comes in to basically clean an otherwise not so clean industry, not so clean sector, and therefore it will help us a great deal. The issue of the young people not engaging in gambling. Honourable Speaker, I think as we move on, we will basically be looking at how else can we adjust or repeal or amend this the legislation so that we are able to make sure that age does not edge onto gambling, so that people can get more serious in their work and move on, as it were. So, Honourable Speaker, those are very few remarks I wish to support. Thank you.
Followed by
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to join my colleagues on this discussion about gambling. Mr. Speaker, from the definition in the bill, gambling is a game of chance. Mr. Speaker, it includes a game of chance for the purpose of making a prize or winning money. And it includes lottery, prize competition. It also includes media promotions with a prize. From that definition, Mr. Speaker, it becomes a legal gaming activity. But, Mr. Speaker, the way many Kenyans understand gambling, it is a very negative game. But I think we need to come out from that school of thought that we cannot demonize gambling because it has certain benefits, even though there are also some cons with it. Mr. Speaker, this bill has brought forth the benefits, which includes generation of income, development of infrastructure, because where this gambling activity will take place will bring in infrastructure. It will also cause employment. It will also cause distribution of income, not forgetting it is going to enhance development, increase in income. Mr. Speaker, this bill has brought a section that is going to concern on operations, including the setting of regulations to govern this game or business. It also, Mr. Speaker, going to establish an authority that is going to oversee this sector. The bill has also brought in the terms and conditions on licensing, and it also has brought forth the relationship between the national government and the county government. Mr. Speaker, that framework of my statement indicates that now the government is ready to bring formality and control of this game of chance. Mr. Speaker, we all know for a couple of years now, the game of gambling has been misused by both the merchants and the players. Mr. Speaker, we have seen and witnessed influx of gambling machines, cheap gambling machines which have been installed illegally in many shops, bars, and the restaurants. It's a free-for-all. I know of business people who are involved in importation of those machines, and they were cheaply brought in and being bought or installed on higher purchase terms to local bars, even within the localities of mosques, localities of churches, localities of schools, enticing young people and low-income earners to enter the game of chance, gambling. Mr. Speaker, I join other members to say, yes, time has come now for the government not only to make money through gambling, but also to regulate the sector. It is common sense. It's a big business in the U.S. I had the opportunity of being of going to Las Vegas, and we saw a city in almost every stage or building or hotel. They allow gambling machines, and the conduct of the gamblers, the conduct of the merchants is highly professional. Mr. Speaker, if we can able to do that, it means we will be able to generate income. We should go towards various activities of our society. Mr. Speaker, there is no business that does not have casualties and negatives. But if a business is generating income, and that generated income can be brought back to the society, Mr. Speaker, it's a good business. I'm more worried, Mr. Speaker, on the implementation and enforcement. I've seen there's a section, the national government will set the policy framework, which is very good, but now the enforcement is the county government. Mr. Speaker, as you know, we're having serious problems of drugs in this country. The national government is running an initiative. The county government are the ones that issue licenses. This bill needs to be very clear, because in as much as we are saying it has benefit and it's a good thing to do, the biggest problem will be how it will be enforced. With the problem of corruption in this country, with the problem of no clear-cut systems at the county level, in the circumstances of lack of commitment, we can legalize a business, it becomes a threat to our young people, our young children, our young youth, because it's a shortcut to making money. I therefore would like to state that if this is not properly handled, it might cause more harm to our society. And I applaud the countries where gambling is not allowed, because I think people are forced to work. It's a challenge to us that we should not create another shortcut for people not to work, for people not to become innovative, for people not to go to school to take shortcuts in life. But all in all, let me state that If really the implementation of this bill is going to be very effective, then it's a good thing. The issue of tax. This is a sin tax. I will not agree with the committee on sports to reduce the tax. In any case, I think it needs to be increased. It needs to be increased. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
The Honorable Member of Parliament for Bondo, followed by the Honorable Woman Rep for Kirinyaga, Jerry Maina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to bring two critical basic principles. The first principle is, why do we make laws? Then the second one is the principle of the necessity of governments. Mr. Speaker, we make laws to guard against what we don't want to happen to us. That's normally the basic principle of why we make laws, to guard against what we don't want to happen to us. And for us to guard against what we don't want to happen to us, governments have a role. And that's exactly why I was talking about the necessity of governments. And the governments normally come in for purpose of controls and regulating the society. Mr. Speaker, we are in a situation where the modern society is much faster than the governments. And this is where governments must wake up. The modern society is much faster than governments. They generate many new things and much more faster than how the governments can respond. Just the last parliament was struggling here with the issue of cyber crime. We were doing it when it was really late, when the harm was already too deep in the society. Right now, we've been having this thing of gambling for a period of time. I remember when I first stepped into Nairobi as a university student, I heard about Kupiga Punda. I didn't know Kupiga Punda was a gambling game. And it took me quite a while to understand what it was. But it was a game that was well understood, and it had its own clientele, a clientele that are people who had worked and had money. And it was only giving them space in the evenings or at night for purpose of spending a bit of what they had earned. That is exactly what I was seeing. Then the next one was the issue of lotteries. Charity sweepstake. There was a purpose. There was a real purpose. The purpose was for purposes of charity. It was not for purpose of generating commercial money. So what we've done, or what we have had, is the way we have commercialized gambling. Or the way we have done now, we have gone out to do our lotteries. This is where the problem is. What then is what is the reason behind one coming up with a lottery or an exercise of doing gambling or lottery? There must be a purpose, and that purpose must be for the good of the society. When we're doing the charity sweepstake, the charity was for the good of supporting charity in the society. What is it that we are gaining from somebody like what I was just sharing with Mr. Speaker, somebody who has a good Benz and places it on the street, a Benz of 30 million shillings, and then the following day tells everybody to give 200 shillings, and then by the end of the day, this fellow generates 2 billion by getting 10,000 people subscribing with 200 shillings, and then nobody going with or one person going with the car of 30 million, the fellow remaining with 1.97 billion Kenya shillings. I think this is the reason, this is the problem, the disadvantage of what we are looking at. Gambling as a game, and gambling as a game with a purpose, is different from gambling, the figurative gambling the MP for Machakos was trying to bring around, that no, life is a gamble. You know, we normally say life is a gamble, yes, but it has its meaning different or outside the gambling as a game. So, Mr. Speaker, I think this is where, as a government, we are late. We are late. And we have lost a lot. And even when we are now trying to cite certain provisions in the bill as sin capital, sin money, that will take it back, we recoup it back for purpose of rehabilitating people. There are people who cannot be rehabilitated. You can't get them. You don't know where they are. And so, Mr. Speaker, there are bits of the bill that I think needs to be looked at afresh. If you look at what's happening in the villages, let alone Nairobi, let alone towns and urban areas, what's happening in the villages through phones and all that is terrible. Yeah, people go young boys and girls go out looking for money from all manner of sides and from manner of angles just to participate in the games, with games that have no necessary reason behind them. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this, but I want to believe that there's much more stern things that the bill needs to have beyond what it has at the moment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Jerry Maina, followed by the MP for Marquette West, Timothy. Is he there?
Yes.
Timothy Toletich?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support this bill. Honorable Speaker, it is about time that we regulate gambling in Kenya. Honorable Speaker, it is unfortunate that most of our populace are being exploited by the gambling companies, by media houses, Honorable Speaker, taking the little they have without investing the same back to our communities. Honorable Speaker, for instance, these media houses and gambling companies, they have a prize amount, sometimes maybe of a car worth around 2.5 million Kenya shillings. The gambling amount to the viewer is around, say, even 200 Kenya shillings. If you do the math, if only 1 million Kenyans gamble for that asset worth 2.5 million, they make 200 million Kenya shillings, Honorable Speaker. This is not money that they have really invested to generate interest, Honorable Speaker. This is money that has come from the pockets of impoverished Kenyans, Honorable Speaker. It is therefore imperative for this House to ensure that a substantial amount of the profits that are made from gambling are plowed back into the community, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, for the young people of this nation, it is quite unfortunate because most of them are just victims of circumstances, victims of the high rate of unemployment in our nation, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, besides even gambling, we have these pyramid schemes, Honorable Speaker, that lure unsuspecting young people, Honorable Speaker, to make monies out of them, Honorable Speaker, and out of their desperation. And perhaps it is also a question of our social engineering, Honorable Speaker, because people want to wake up to riches overnight, Honorable Speaker. I want to implore on the young people of this nation to remember the values of hard work, consistency, and keeping going even though the times are hard, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, these companies like Public Likes and the others, Honorable Speaker, they knowingly defraud Kenyans of their hard-earned mega income, Honorable Speaker, without any liability, Honorable Speaker, without any responsibility. That is why we must ensure that we control even the advertisement, Honorable Speaker. We know that social media is a behemoth, Honorable Speaker, that is accessible to our young kids, even as young as 10 years, Honorable Speaker. What culture do we want to build for them, Honorable Speaker? It is therefore imperative that this bill not only regulates, but also ensures that we have restrictions in terms of advertisement, especially in our media sector, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to urge the members of Parliament to ensure that at all times we aggressively push for these media houses and gambling companies to have a substantive input into the communities, Honorable Speaker. Fund social amenities like rehabilitation, Honorable Speaker. Our young people are prone to gambling. It is an addiction, Honorable Speaker. They have to have a community social responsibility from the people who are giving them those monies, Honorable Speaker. They have also to invest in youth empowerment, Honorable Speaker. We not only need to have it on paper. When it comes to implementation, it is unfortunate that we lack a follow-up process, Honorable Speaker. And I hope that this bill, once passed, will not suffer the consequence of having a lack of goodwill and implementation of the same, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute on this very important bill. Honorable Speaker, it is time that we regulate as a country the gambling industry in this country. Honorable Speaker, I have read the Constitution, in particular the 4th schedule, provides clearly that gambling, casinos, and betting is a shared function between the national government and the county government. Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank the authors of the bill because they appreciate that fact. That is why, under this bill, the functions of the county government and the functions of the national government are clearly spelled out insofar as regulation of the gambling industry is concerned. Honorable Speaker, I have also read the substance of the bill, and there are issues that are of fundamental importance. One is that in terms of licensing, Honorable Speaker, it has been said that the entity that shall be given the license to run or to run this gambling facility shall be a corporate entity. That means that that corporate entity shall be responsible in law because a corporate entity has certain provisions in terms of perpetual succession, in terms of suing and being sued, so that it is not left to individuals. If it is a corporate entity, then they shall bear certain legal consequences. Honorable Speaker, and that provides that that entity must have a minimum of 30% shareholding by Kenyans. So, Honorable Speaker, we have had issues whereby we've had gambling companies from outside Kenya who have no interest in Kenya, and therefore it is very clear now under this bill that 30% of the shareholders must be Kenyans. Number two, Honorable Speaker, is that they have been authorized to maintain an account in a financial entity within the Republic of Kenya, so that the amount of money collected is not remitted to another country. The fact that the money that is accrues out of the gambling is directed or channeled towards a financial institution in Kenya, for me, is a gain. Honorable Speaker, this authority that has been created, the Gambling Regulation Authority, shall also be able to provide or issue out licenses and revoke licenses. We've had problems under the current regime whereby we have lacked a specific authority that can be able to revoke a license once it is misused. Finally, Honorable Speaker, I have heard the leader majority commenting on the issue of taxation. And, Honorable Speaker, the Committee on Sports has proposed a reduction of taxes from 15% to 13%. Honorable Speaker, I see no reason of challenging that provision or that particular amendment or proposed amendment. Honorable Speaker, we must be careful as a country. In as much as we want to collect taxes, we should not tax our people out of business. Honorable Speaker, I call upon the committee to make a comparative study. Look at Tanzania, look at Uganda, look at East African countries, the taxation regime, so that we don't tax those people out of business. Honorable Speaker, the moment we raise the taxation in a comparative way more than the other East African countries, then our investors in this country shall be able to move to other countries that have more friendly tax regimes. So, Honorable Speaker, I call upon that committee to look critically, and when it comes to the committee of the whole, we shall propose an amendment to agree with the committee so that we can be able to retain the percentage that the committee has thought out to be 13% and be able to maintain that particular provision. Honorable Speaker, I support this bill because most Kenyans are gambling, they are betting their lives, and they are becoming miserable out of losing a lot of money towards betting. So, Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this bill.
The Honorable Member of Parliament for Mandela, for Abdul Haro.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Followed by Metuse. Is that Metuse? Yeah, you've been out.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand from the outright to say that I oppose this bill because I think gambling, in the first place, is a bad business. It has caused a lot of suffering in many homes. It has affected a lot of, almost all facets of our society. The youths in school and the youths out of school are affected. Adults are affected. People have gambled away their terminal benefits. People have gambled away their farms. People have gambled away their homes. And I think it has caused a lot of suffering. So, Honorable Speaker, gambling, as it has been defined, is a game of chance. And that means it encourages laziness. People just want to make easy money without working for it, which is bad in the first place. And in order to save a society which has been affected in a big way, I don't think regulating gambling will be the solution. Totally banning gambling, I think, according to me, will be the solution. Even if you impose tax on gambling, you're just imposing tax on a bad business. Even if you say the license holders should participate in corporate social responsibility, you're developing community projects through a bad business. Even if you say a certain percentage of saving should be forced on the gambler, I think it's bad to save money from a bad business in the first place. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I think gambling is bad for this country, it's bad for our society. It is going to be even more dangerous the moment we start regulating it. It means by regulating gambling and allowing it to flourish, we should also tax drug dealers. We should also tax, get corporate social responsibility from drug money. We should also get savings from drug money. And I think for that reason, I totally oppose this bill, and gambling should be outlawed completely. Thank you.
Metuse? No? The Honorable Metuse?
I didn't want to. Mr. Speaker.
Is the Honorable Member of Parliament for Limuru in the House? The Honorable John Kiragu? Is he in? Okay, you follow me to see.
Mr. Speaker, I want to join the members of the Committee on Sports and the promoter of this bill, the Honorable Leader of Majority, and members who have contributed this afternoon in supporting the enactment of the Gambling Control Bill into law. We support this because we have to create a society that believes in the values of hard work. We support this because our youth are the leaders that will inherit this country. And for them to inherit this country and to take it forward, it is important that from the onset, good values and ethics are impacted upon them. We have reached a point where gambling has become an alternative to people going to their farms to till. We have reached a point in this country where gambling is becoming an alternative for young people to school, because many of them are now beginning to argue that you do not need a university degree to gamble. And therefore, it has become an alternative to people going to school. We have reached a point where people only need wake up and find crafty ways of obtaining a smartphone and some airtime so that they begin to engage in gambling as a source of income. And like it has been explained, gambling can never be a source of sustainable and regular income. Number two, Mr. Speaker, most of the gambling firms that we have operating around, many of them are also owned by foreigners. And because the sector has not been regulated, it has caused a lot of capital flight. People come here with funny lotteries, funny promotions. They get licensed they have some M-Pesa digits, they collect billions and billions of money, but the money is not reinvested in the country. There has not been a clear mechanism for them paying taxes so that those taxes can also impact in terms of our development. And therefore, because of the unregulated nature of the gambling and lottery industry, a lot of the money is being shipped from our economy, and it explains partly why our economy is also suffering in terms of cash flow. And therefore, to require that the corporations, the firms, the companies that will be licensed to carry out gambling must have a minimum of 30% shareholding that is local is in itself very, very noble. Turning to taxation in terms of whether, as proposed in the bill, we should tax at 15% or reduce to the percentage proposed by the committee at 13%. I support the sentiments by members that that taxation must be set using an objective criteria. By objective criteria, I mean we must do the delicate balancing of collecting the sin tax so as to apply it to developing the social fabric of those who may have been affected by gambling, but also counterbalance it with the interest of those who are investing. And this broadly speaks to our taxation regime in comparison with our neighboring countries and also those countries that are in competition with us in terms of attracting investment. And therefore, I will be expecting the committee to be telling us in reply why they recommended a reduction, what is the scientific reasoning, because it is not just about arithmetics, it is not just about figures, it is not just about 15 and 13%. There must be some scientific thinking that informs us in terms of what we said. But in my view, the tax that is going to be imposed on gambling firms must be one that, number one, prevents people from making it very easy for firms and for individuals to participate in this. And number two, we must also set a taxation system that is very efficient so that immediately any person gambles, then the taxman or the taxwoman or tax institutions are able to receive their taxes promptly, noting that many of the directors of these companies, as I had said earlier, may not be local. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, this afternoon, I support the passage, enactment into law of the Gambling Control Bill so as to regulate the sector and so as to create a responsible society, noting that a lot of the people who are gambling are young people. And like I have said earlier, gambling is beginning to confuse our young people from doing that which is meaningful to them to engaging in the quick gains, in the quick promises that come with the monies that are often pledged in gambling. And as I finalize, Mr. Speaker, it is also important that
comes trouble, here comes the danger. Sent by the Savior, welcome the Rasta youth. Oh, think twice. It's just another day for you and me in Kingston Town. You don't call anymore, 'cause I'm still thinking about you. Have you found somebody new?
The stage is set for a showcase of young talents as Kenya hosts the Sekafa Under-18 Championship from the 25th of November to 8th of December in Kisumu and Kakamega. Kenya, Sudan,